Okay, good evening and welcome to Winter Sports Night. Here we are. I can't believe that it's almost November, which marks the start of a new season. My name is Pat Crater, and I just want to thank everybody for tuning in this evening, and I really want to thank everybody for being part of our program. We also have joining us this evening Mr. Vogler, who is our head athletics trainer and athletics coordinator, Mrs. Walshell, who is our 7 through 12 athletic trainer, primarily working with our middle school teams, coaches, and athletes. Thank you. And then we have a couple of special guests this evening. We have our USC president, Linda Naden. Thank you for joining us. And also our USAC president, Shannon Garvey. And we thank Shannon for joining us as well. So I just want to start by extending a special welcome to those families who are new to our program, whether you're in 7th grade or trying a sport for the first time, or perhaps you recently moved to our community. I want to wish you the best of luck. And I really want to wish everybody the best of luck and a safe and successful season. So let me get started with our presentation. When I talk about having a safe and a successful season, and this evening we're going to start by sharing how we can have a safe and a successful season this year. For starters, I can tell you that it's going to require a lot of extra work and sacrifices along the way, but I do believe that it can be done, and it really relies on, though, all of us being a good teammate, and that includes coaches, parents, athletes, staff members. I know even last week I had a little cold, and I'm one of those people, I hate staying home from work, but I did. And I just wanted to make sure that our campus was safe and healthy. And those are the types of sacrifices that we're going to have to make this season in order to have a safe and successful season. So in this context, really, being a good teammate, it's not about passing the ball. It's not about communicating on the court. I'm talking about staying home when you're sick. In fact, we thank you for staying home when you're sick, and we need our coaches and our athletes to wear a mask and practice social distancing and practice good hygiene, washing their hands. And it's going to be necessary to make good and responsible decisions off the court and on the weekends as well. And so we just, this season we're hoping that we have a full and a fun season, but we're going to need to make sacrifices along the way to keep everybody healthy. And also keep our kids in school as well, and keep everybody playing sports. So if we're all being good teammates this winter, I'm hoping that we can have a safe and successful season. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Vogler to talk a little bit more about our health and safety expectations. So thank you, Mr. Vogler, and I'll kick it to you.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Crater. So really, when we talk about the logistics of our health and safety plan, there's really two plans that we need to consider. We have our own internal UCFSD athletics health and safety plan, but the Chestmont League also adopted a league-wide health and safety plan. So both of these plans really consist of a lot of the same things, a lot of the same mitigation strategies that you've seen, anywhere you've gone in public. But most importantly, on campus, ours really focuses on, wearing face masks at the appropriate time, social distancing, when the activity warrants it, and when arriving and leaving, and designing activities that encourage social distancing, practicing good hand hygiene and hygiene in general. And as Mr. Crater said, really a lot of those things that are on that teamwork slide, staying home when you're sick, doing the right thing, making appropriate social decisions. We had some collaboration with our facility staff, and they created these amazing public service announcements that are all over our stadium, and they'll be inside our indoor facilities, as the time comes. And some other things that we've done to kind of mitigate the risk is that, locker rooms are going to look far from ordinary from your normal locker room. This year, they're going to be more changing rooms and limited on the amount of athletes that can be in there at one time and that type of thing. We've also worked with our transportation staff to make sure that on the bus, we're following the best mitigation strategies that we can. One thing that's a little different right now is that, our water fountains throughout the school are turned off. So for our indoor athletes and our outdoor athletes, we're going to ask everyone to bring their own water. And certainly, we have a way of refilling those if they run out. But from the start, we ask everyone brings their own water. And then from a league-wide perspective, there's a standardized screening, which I'll go over a little more in depth on the next screen. And there's also some threshold metrics as to when, activity terminates, which is consistent with the Department of Education and Department of Health's guidance. and some league-wide spectator policies so that every school was kind of on the same wavelength with those. So going into the league-wide screening, there's really 4 questions. The first one focuses on the Chester County Health Department's recommended symptoms. So we're using that symptom table, which is listed here below. You need one symptom from Group A to be considered symptomatic, two symptoms from Group B to be considered symptomatic. Question 2 focuses on household members experiencing those symptoms. Question 3 goes into a little more detail about close contact with anyone who is in the process of being tested, possibly has COVID-19 or is positive for COVID-19. And then the question 4 focuses on the Department of Health's travel quarantine list, and if you had any recent travel in the past 14 days, either domestically on that list or internationally. So really, this is a screening that's going to be done by all athletes, coaches, officials, staff, event workers, and even media members that are present. And really, any yes on this screening would trigger us to say stay home, and that's where that being a good teammate comes in. And this year, being a good teammate means staying home if there's any doubt that you might be sick. So I'll kick it back to Mr. Crater to go over the next part of the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Mr. Vogler, for all that you do. And I do want to let everybody know that the athletics task force is hard at work, even in the midst of this fall season that we're in right now, trying to find a way to make sure that we can have winter sports and also have winter sports safely. I do want to let everybody know that that winter sports will require a board action, and that meeting is on November 16th. And so I know that the board does not take these decisions lightly. And so in the meantime, we are planning to have a season, and we'll see what happens. So another person who does so much for our school and so much for our program that I'd like to introduce next is Linda Naden, and she is the president of the Unionville Sports Council. And it is my pleasure to say hello to Linda and welcome her to our meeting this evening. And Linda, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Pat. My name is Linda Naden, and I'm the new president of the Unionville Sports Council. Just to give you a little background, the Sports Council is kind of the umbrella group that goes over all the sports on campus. And we kind of do the not so fun stuff that you guys don't want to do. We do a lot of the paperworky stuff. We do a lot of the licensing, and we do the taxes for the groups so that you guys can focus more on your sports and the fun stuff. So we just ask in return that you guys keep all your records up to date. That would be contact information for your boosters and any of the financial input that you have into your documents up to date. So I just wanted to introduce myself, let you guys know we're here. You'll be hearing from us once in a while, and we'll jump on board. This year is going to be a little light, obviously, but next year we'll be jumping in full force. So you'll be hearing from us. So thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Linda. And personally, I want to thank USC for all they do to support the department, our athletes, the booster clubs. Really the umbrella support for the tax preparation and the licensing and registration. If I can be frank here, would be an absolute nightmare if each individual booster club had to file on their own. And so we thank USC for all they do. Additionally, there's grant money, the Huddle subscription that is that supports our programs. That is all very much appreciated. So thank you very much. And our next VIP this evening is Shannon Garvey, who is our USAC president, a 3-sport athlete, and a UVA-bound women's lacrosse athlete. Shannon is the president of our Unionville Student Athlete Advisory Committee. We are in our 3rd year of working with this committee and these student athletes. We have a great group of kids, and at this point, I will turn it over to Shannon to say hello.
Hi, I'm Shannon. I'm a senior here at Unionville, and so I'm the USAC president, which stands for Unionville Student Athletic Advisory Committee. So basically, our job is we are the communication system between the administration and the student athletes. So it keeps things running smoothly. So Mr. Crater can communicate to our teams easily. So if there's a leader from each team, and then he'll talk to them, and they can communicate the message to their teams. So We also like participate in community service, and we are all about like building relationships among the student athletes and the student body. So we really encourage school spirit, student section. I mean, obviously this year with the student section, it's kind of hard considering there's limited people that are allowed to go to the games. But normally we totally encourage and lead people to student sections. And like our main goal is also to promote school pride and school spirit. And so like we obviously do that through sports. So how it works is basically at the end of every school year, we ask a coach to nominate an emerging leader on their team. And so there's one leader from each team, like boys lacrosse, girls lacrosse, they each have their own, and then like for all, I think it's like 20 teams at the school. Um, and so if someone graduates from, if they're like a senior and they leave, so we'll fill that position by going to their coach. And once the new member is nominated, then they'll come to our meetings. And if they can agree to go or participating and going to most of our monthly meetings, because we only have a meeting once a month, just to like stay in touch. If there's new updates, it's just a good way to keep the communication system healthy. All right, then yeah, so it's all about showing up and just being a good leader, like I said. So I think I covered it all with you, Zach. Um, but I think that's pretty much it. So if you're an emerging leader and you want to be a part of the committee, talk to your coach, and hopefully at the end of the year you'll be nominated. But in the meantime, I hope to see you in the halls or on the field with mask on if you're not on the field. You know, we also encourage the mask wearing. So yeah, hope to see you soon and good luck with the rest of the year.
All right, that's excellent. Thank you for your leadership and great work there, Shannon. So, okay, so let's get into to this evening's the rest of this evening's presentation here. I'd like to just take a few minutes to share some of my thoughts and reflections about the purpose of athletics. And certainly, we love to play and compete, and we like to win games. Competitiveness is one of our core values in our program. Uh, but really, the higher purpose of the game itself, my belief is that that's what the vehicle is. That actually helps to develop our athletes to be successful now and later in life, on and off the field, and to contribute to society as our district's mission states. And so in just thinking about what it is that we're doing and what it is that we're building here at Unionville Chadds Ford, it reminds me of the story of the three bricklayers. And that story goes like this. While walking down the street, one sees a construction site and approaches the first worker and asks, what is it that you're doing? And the worker says, well, I'm laying bricks. And so she keeps walking down the street and approaches the next worker and asks the next worker, I'm just curious here, what is it that you're doing? And the next worker, the second worker says, well, he said, I'm building a wall. And so finally she approached the last bricklayer and calmly asked, what is it that you're doing? And the bricklayer stops, reflects, and with a passionate voice says, I am building a beautiful cathedral. And in our program, that gets me thinking is about what is it that we're doing? And I really believe that we're doing more than just teaching a drill or even just simply coaching the team. We're doing more than building a program. And I believe that through sports and through our program, we're really building a program that is built on a foundation of values that guides our student athletes to be successful in athletics, certainly, but also in academics and in future endeavors. And so I really think that we're building a great program here that is, and we're building great student athletes here so that they can be successful now and later. And we appreciate everybody who supports our efforts, our coaching staff, athletic training staff, Mrs. Weaver, our parents, administration. It really takes a village to make sure that we're building a program that best supports our athletes. So with that said, I'm talking about building a program that's built on a foundation of core values, and those values are shown on this slide. A couple of years ago, we worked closely with a committee of stakeholders to build our program's values and standards. And we really are at the point where we challenge everybody to live by and play by these values and standards each day. And we put a lot of time into this project. And as you can see on the screen here, our core values in our program: integrity, accountability, respect, teamwork, perseverance, and competitiveness. And this is really what our program is all about. And to promote this and to hold us accountable for our values and standards, we formed a committee that started last year, and that committee is called the Values Ambassadors. And the vision of this committee is to foster a habit of thought in our community, especially in our athletics community, that reflects our values and standards. And so when I think about a habit of thought is an action or a behavior. It's something that we do without even thinking about it. And so when somebody holds the door open for me when I go to Landhope, I say thank you. And I don't think about if I should say thank you. I just do it. It's just a habit of thought. And so let's take respect, perhaps our most important value. The habit of thought there is that we should treat everybody with value and in high regard, without even having to think about it. It shouldn't be a question. It's just how we live our lives. We live our lives, and especially in our program, by treating everyone and everything with value and high regard, respect. And so really, we just hope that everybody in our program, the entire village, will join us in promoting a habit of thought in our program that reflects our values and standards. One of the most important projects recently that has come out of our Values Ambassadors Committee is our new self-advocacy policy. And this policy is supported by several of our values and standards, which were shown on the previous slide. And we really think that this work here will make our program healthier and give our athletes some valuable tools that they'll certainly need in life after high school as well. And so what we've done is come up with a framework that empowers our athletes to speak with the coach if there is a concern, but also gives guidance to our coaches on how to foster these conversations, which we know that these conversations are a big step for our athletes in their growth and development. And so myself, other administrators, and counselors are committed to helping our athletes navigate this effective self-advocacy path here. And we look forward to seeing a lot of growth in our athletes as a result. Certainly there are bigger issues where it wouldn't be appropriate for a child to be on the front lines of a conversation. And we understand that. And I want everybody to know that, if there's an issue about hazing or abuse or that sort of thing, that should always be reported to the proper authority, whether that's an administrator or a police officer, et cetera. Those instances should be reported immediately. And so we're looking forward to this work in self-advocacy and looking forward to supporting our athletes to have these powerful and effective conversations when there are issues. So the next two slides here show the athletic staff. And I just, now more than ever, I just want to thank everybody who's listed here in these next two slides for supporting our athletes and supporting our coaches. And it hasn't been easy. And we're asking folks to do, already before the pandemic, we were asking people to do a lot. And now we're asking people to do so much more. But I really think that our department has embraced the growth mindset. We've accepted the adversity with a positive attitude, and we're all resolute in the fact that we want to support our kids and we want to be able to give them these opportunities. We know that sports are a good thing, and so we want to be able to find a way to do this for our kids. And so again, now more than ever, these people are working like crazy to do everything possible that so that we can have sports for our kids. Here are the unsung heroes. These folks are working really hard behind the scenes, and they just do an incredible amount of work to support our department. And the truth is that our program, it just wouldn't be able to operate without these people supporting us behind the scenes. So we thank these folks as well very much for everything that they do. So. Okay, so just some quick facts on our program here. We have a large program at Unionville Chadds Ford. It's something that we're really proud of. And relative to the size of our school, we're actually considered one of the largest programs around here in Southeast PA. We have a lot of great opportunities. It's something that we're proud of. For all the good things about sports, we're really proud that we have so many opportunities for kids to be part of our middle school and our high school athletic program. And just some more FYIs here. Our high school teams, we do compete in the American division of the Chesmont League. Patton Middle School competes in the Chesmont Middle School League. And then once you get past, from a competitive standpoint, once you get past the regular season, the league schedule, for postseason purposes, the state is divided into 12 districts. We are in District 1, along with schools from Chester County, Delaware County, Bucks County, Montgomery County. We are a member of the PIAA, which is the governing organization that provides the bylaws and constitution for the rules that we follow. And they also sponsor the state playoffs. And so just digging in a little deeper about the programs that we do offer here. This is the Unionville High School PIAA Interscholastic program. Again, we have a large program, lots of great opportunities for our athletes to be involved. Next slide here. This is our Patton Middle School PIAA Interscholastic program. And then last but not least, we have currently we have 2 club sports that are affiliated with Unionville High School. And then we also have a unified bocce team, which is just a tremendous program. And we're so proud that we're able to have that program for those students as well. So, okay, I want to highlight a few sections of our athletics handbook, which can be found online. And it's also included in the Family ID sports registration. So I definitely want to encourage everybody to have a good understanding of the information that's in this handbook. The handbook is comprehensive, but the following slides are going to show some of the more popular sections of the handbook. And so let me dig into this a little further. We have a standard, our values and standards, that states honor the commitment that you've made to the team. And so what this section is all about is the commitment to the team. And so if an athlete decides to participate on a team, attendance at practice and games is certainly an expectation. And you know, you can certainly pause here on the YouTube recording or find the handbook online to dig into this a little further. I don't want to read it to you, but just the other piece that I'll add to this section here is especially this year, we do understand that we're going to need to be flexible because of the challenges and the pandemic, certainly the hybrid learning model, and we recognize that we need to be flexible. Additionally, like we've said from the very start of this presentation, we need athletes to stay home when they're sick, and so that's how you can honor the commitment to the team. You could be committed to the team by being a good teammate and following the rules. And so coaches will share more about schedules and expectations at the 7 p.m. meeting, but honoring the commitment of the team is something that's important to us. Moving right along, these are the attendance eligibility guidelines here. Again, feel free to pause the YouTube recording, dig into this on the website as well. But really, athletes need to be in school or they need to be logged in order to participate. Again, we do have some flexibility within this policy. There's flexibility for lateness and excused absences, but really the best practice is to be in school if you want to participate. In the online learning model, the hybrid that we're about to approach here, we do understand that there are some tech issues, but please know that students can contact the Unionville Chadsford tech support line if experiencing difficulties. But really this section it's all about being a student athlete, and after all, that's what we are, and this is also another way of honoring your commitment to your academics and to being a student as well. Okay, communicating concerns. So I talked about this earlier in the self-advocacy section. Please take a look at this section as well. Our Values Ambassadors Committee took a good look at this section, put a lot of thought, a lot of conversation, a lot of collaboration into this piece of the handbook here. involved in those decisions and conversations were athletes, coaches, administrators, parents, even members of our school board. And we're really confident in the process that we've developed here. And again, I think that this gives our athletes an opportunity for some good self-advocacy, and this process keeps our program healthy as well. And once again, if certainly if there's a bigger issue, you would want to report that to the proper authorities immediately. So let me just make that clear. Okay. All right, so the last key section that I pulled out of the handbook is just really a clarification on playing time expectations, our goals here at the different levels. Clearly, the higher the level, once you get up to the varsity, the higher the emphasis is on competitiveness. And so, as you can see here, our middle school programs, really what we're focused on is developing skills, getting kids involved. We want to develop our athletes, and that really becomes more of the priority over winning in competition. At this level, we can't always guarantee that there's equal playing time in every single game, but coaches are aware that athletes who are meeting the team expectations are deserving of opportunities to compete. Once we get into the high school here and the JV level, opportunities to compete are intended to prepare athletes for the varsity level. So we, the level of competitiveness rises a little bit. Of course, at all levels, it's, playing sports is still supposed to be fun. We recognize that along the way. But at the JV level, equal playing time is not guaranteed, but the coaches, they do a good job of trying to get everybody into every game. I will say that, once you get in deeper into a game, the fourth quarter, later in the game, if the score is close, our coaches at that level are going to put the players out on the court, out on the field that are going to give the team the best chance of being successful. And once you get to the varsity level here, this is the most competitive athletic program that we have. Unionville Chad Ford, the head coach, is in charge of determining playing time according to the team's needs. And at this level, playing time is not guaranteed in every game. All right, so just as I wrap it up here, a couple more slides. The official start dates and the registration deadline, as you can see here, family ID registrations are due on November 13th. Our athletic training staff is going to talk about family ID in just a moment. And again, pending board approval, here are the start dates for the winter season, and we do hope that everybody is prepared and ready to go. Again, if you're sick for tryouts, we would insist that you stay home. Our coaches will give those athletes a fair tryout whenever they're healthy and ready to be back in our program. And so, again, pending board approval, November 20th, Patton girls basketball tryouts will get underway, and then their season starts right after that, as well as middle school wrestling. Our middle school boys tryouts are just to be determined right now. We're actually doing a pre-recording of this presentation. It is Wednesday, October 14th right now, and you're going to be viewing this on October 19th. So by the time you get to your team meeting with Coach Hadley and Coach Heb, hopefully we have these dates nailed down. But we just have a few things to figure out in terms of mitigation and facilities, et cetera. So stay tuned for information for Patton boys basketball tryouts. On November 20th, again, our high school teams will be joining us. Our middle school and high school cheerleading program will be working as one this winter. So that's why you see 7 through 12 there. And that as we get later into November, you'll see winter track and field. Unionville High School crew team, they have an excellent winter training season. And then our bocce team is going to join us in December. So we are looking forward. We hope to have the opportunity to welcome our winter athletes or our coaches back on campus here in the next month or so. And before I turn it over to our athletic trainers, just in terms of finding additional information, we're trying to do a good job of communicating effectively. We have a nice website. Please take some time to navigate the website. That's where you can find coach contact information, the season schedules, upcoming game schedules with start times, dismissal times, locations, all that stuff that we need, news and events. And then we have lots of good news that we like to share on social media as well. So at this time, I will turn it over to our athletic training staff. Once again, I thank everybody for being part of our program this season. While we hope to have the opportunity to play and compete, we do know that it is going to be far from ordinary, and we just ask everybody to be friendly and flexible along the way as we all join forces here to really try to support our kids. And so thank you once again. And let me turn it over to Mrs. Walshell at this point. Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome. Good evening. I'm going to talk a little bit about Family ID, which Family ID is a web-based registration program that we use to register and sign up our athletes for sports. It also allows us to clear them medically. They upload their physical, give us information on their health history. They complete electronically all the forms from the PIAA physical form, all the sections. Basically, the website there is in the first link, but if you go on, or in the first bullet, if you go on the UCFSD Athletics website, there's a link available there, or you can go directly to Family ID and search for UCFSD or Unionville Chadds Ford, I think Patton Middle School. You can do any of those searches and it should bring you to our website. If your child has a registration from a previous sport, their information is saved. So whether it was last year or whether it was a fall sport, their information is in there and you can choose them as a participant and it will automatically populate it into the new registration, which makes things a lot quicker. When you go on to the website for Family ID for our registrations, you're going to see 2 separate registrations for Patton and 2 separate registrations for UHS. There's an initial registration, and that registration is specifically for athletes who have not yet done a sport this year. So if your child didn't register for a fall sport, then you need to do the initial registration. If your child is already registered for a fall sport, but then maybe they decided not to do it, or they did compete, then you've got that registration in there. The section 6 of the physical form is already uploaded, and you can do the subsequent season registration, which is much quicker. There's no uploads required. It takes a lot less time. So please make sure you do the correct registration. Save yourself a little time by doing the subsequent season one if your child has already done a sport this year. The PIAA SIPA form is their physical form, and section 6 of that is the page that the physician has to complete. So that gets uploaded in the physician section of the initial registration. And please keep in mind, this form must be dated no earlier than June 1st, 2020. That's very important. If you have a current physical that your doctor is reauthorizing for your student to use for their sport, they have to date it with the date they sign it. If they date it with the date of the physical, and if it was in April, then we can't accept that. So please make sure that it's dated after June 1st. Next slide, please. So after you register, you're going to receive 2 emails. The first is confirmation of registration, just tells you your registration is completed. If you think you went online, you completed the registration, but you don't receive that email, that means you didn't fully complete the registration. You want to go back in, take a look at the registration, and make sure you go down to the bottom and hit submit or save and submit. Once we review it, you'll receive another email, and that email will tell you if the registration is approved or if there's a correction that needs to be done. If a correction is required, the email will specify exactly what is needed or what is missing that needs correction. As for activity fees, you can pay electronically via RevTrack and Family ID for a small fee, or you can submit cash to the athletics office for the high school or the main office for Patton. Right now I had the fees in there set at 0 because we're not sure what the fees are going to be for this year, but once we have specifics, then I'll go ahead and enter the fee. That way you're not paying an amount that is more than necessarily what you need to pay. So if you have any questions on that, please feel free to email me at kwalshell@ucfsd.net. Next slide, please. So just to give you an idea of a couple of common mistakes that we see on the form, probably the most common one is that the physician forgets to date it, or they date it before June 1st. And then another mistake we see is that it's not signed by the provider. That's kind of rare, but it does happen. Another is where the physician indicates that they're cleared, but with recommendations for something else. And in that case, we generally need clearance from whoever they are referring the athlete to before they're cleared. Another thing that they sometimes forget to do in the red block there, you'll see I have the word cleared. Sometimes they forget to check that they're cleared. And again, sometimes at the bottom there, that's where the physician has to sign it, and then that's where they have to date it. So do yourself a favor, check the physical before you leave the doctor's office. You don't want to upload it and then last minute get a notification that the registration is not approved. So before you leave the doctor's office, check it and just make sure everything's good to go. Next slide, please. This just shows you another common mistake that we see. What happens is there's a section called the agreement section, and it's multiple places where the parent and the student have to read through the information, and then they have to check that they agree and they have to sign it. A common mistake we see is that the parent will sign as both the parent and the student. So make sure that the student is reading the information, that they're signing as the student, and that the parent is, of course, signing as the parent. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Mr. Vogler, who's going to talk about our athletic training procedures.
Thank you, Ms. Walshall. So real quick, we'll go through some of the sports medicine and athletic training procedures for, for Patton and UHS. So, we get this question a lot, but athletes that are injured here at UHS or Patton will be evaluated by one of us, either me, Ms. Walshall, or Ms. Schnars. If it's a minor injury, we'll usually give the athlete advice or send home a letter with parent with treatment tips for home. Obviously, anything that's a little bit more severe than that, the parents will be directly contacted. Depending on the severity of it, athletes might need to see a physician, and then before they return, we will need a doctor's note clearing them for activity. Now, once they get that doctor's note, they should bring it to us, and we'll check in with them and make sure that they're ready to go. There are a few things, in a traditional year, concussions and skin lesions have additional requirements beyond a clearance note. There's some PIAA, PA state law, and NFHS guidelines that we have to follow. And then, right now in a COVID-19 world, we also have some extra guidance that we have to follow anytime someone presents with illness symptoms or depending on screening results. So there are some things that, require additional steps beyond just a traditional clearance note. Next slide, please. So some tips that I always like to throw out is that ultimately our job is to be here for the health and safety of all students. So if there's something we can do to help your child, reach out, whether that's an email, a phone call, a quick informal conversation at a game, let us know. We're here to be advocates for your child in the building, whether it's, with other staff members, with coaching staffs, just to help an athlete in general, let us know. The one thing that comes up in the winter a lot is proper clothing. We do have cold weather restrictions for our winter sports that do stuff outside. So make sure that athletes always have plenty of layers with them. In a traditional year, I'll say keep it in your locker. Right now, when we're saying locker rooms or changing rooms, just make sure you have stuff with you or you're able to bring it with you. Encourage healthy habits at home. That's always important, but it's especially important right now. And again, going along that theme of we're here to help, let us know if there's any medical conditions that we should have that we should have on our radar. Obviously, they should be listed on your physical as well. But let us know so we can put a face with a name and kind of create a one-on-one plan with that student and the coaching staff if needed. Next slide, please. So just a few partnerships that we have in the sports medicine world that are really, really helpful to us from a personnel standpoint, but also from a communications and an appointment standpoint. So our team physician is Dr. Yuka. He's out of Premier Orthopedics. He has offices in Britton Lake, Wilmington, Media, and Glen Mills. So he's someone who is a great resource for us as athletic trainers, but also, we'll consult with him when there's a question or something. But also the biggest benefit for our student athletes is that we can get priority appointments in his office and just phenomenal communication. As introduced on a previous slide, Ms. Schnars is our assistant athletic trainer. She's provided to us by a partnership with ATI Physical Therapy. And so as a result of that, we can help with communication and appointments in their Kennett Square clinic. And right now we don't have Westchester student interns, but in some years you'll see, we do have student interns. So that's another partnership that we have that helps us provide care to our student athletes. And I think I'll kick it back to Mr. Crater here so he can go over the meeting locations for this evening and some general Q&A.
All right, so thank you, Mrs. Walshell. Thank you, Mr. Vogler. And you're right, we're just going to wrap it up here this evening. I appreciate everybody who tuned in for our winter sports night presentation here. At 7 p.m. Our coaches are excited to meet parents and athletes. They will have some additional information that's specific to the team that will be shared with everybody this evening. And then certainly, if there are questions, please follow up. There will be a Zoom room open, as you can see on the screen here. That's Mr. Vogler's room for a general Q&A as well, and that room will open up at 7 p.m. So stay tuned for more information. We will do our best to keep everybody informed as information unfolds. But ultimately, we are hoping to be able to have sports for our athletes this winter. So thanks again, and good luck in your team meetings tonight.